Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. I'm going to start tonight with a confession, which is this. As the coronavirus continues to devastate this country, I am just finding it hard to hold my rage and my anguish together. We are watching a lack of action by the federal leadership of this country that feels almost criminal. It is depraved indifference at a level I cannot quite articulate. Do you remember where you were on 9/11? I do. I think we all do. Well, I would say take a moment now to commit to memory where you are at this moment. We lost more Americans today than we lost in 9/11, an event that transformed our country and our government and the world. Today was just a Wednesday. We are now at a point where the nation's COVID response has descended into chaos. Just chaos, catastrophe, and calamity. And everyone is mad at everyone else. People are mad at each other. People are texting each other about the jerk at the store who wasn't wearing the mask properly and the person on Instagram with a big party and big group on Thanksgiving, or the people mobilizing in this town or that to protest the restrictions meant to save lives, and the hypocritical local leaders and the governors who won't act, who are closing schools and playgrounds but not bars and gyms. All the while, a record number of people in the U.S. remain hospitalized with COVID. More than 3,000 deaths were recorded today for the first time ever. That's a record here and a record for the world. We have, without question, the worst response of any rich country in the world. And you can really make the case it is just the worst in the world, period. There are many points of failure, but do not lose sight of the fact that it starts from the top and it has from the beginning. There is no country on earth that has successfully suppressed the coronavirus in a distributed, privatized, federalized way. Nowhere on earth where the government just told localities and individuals to make choices for themselves. That didn't work for anyone. In fact, it's the opposite that's been successful. Look at Australia. Yes, it doesn't share a land border with another country. Yes, they have a lot going for them. And they also adopted really strict measures. Australia even stopped people traveling between provinces completely. Imagine if you couldn't travel between states here. You know, a few times teenagers in Australia broke quarantine and traveled between provinces, and it was, no joke, it was national news there. The country undertook a fully nationalized effort to suppress the virus, and it was strict, and it was hard, and you know what? It worked. They have almost no cases, and this is what it looks like in Australia now. Doesn't that look nice? People greeting each other at the end of the travel ban, which just was announced. They're having outdoor concerts. People are eating in Sydney and Melbourne. This is what success looks like. If the U.S. had Australia's per capita death rate, more than 270,000 Americans would be alive today. More than 90% of all the Americans who have died of COVID would still be here. Okay, you say, Australia is a weird case. It's an island. It's got a relatively small population. It's a part of the world that dealt with SARS and had some practice. Let's look at Germany. Germany had one of the best performances in the EU. And then, because the virus is implacable, as we know, it doesn't stop, it doesn't go away, the numbers started spiking again in the fall. And so, like other EU countries, they had to take fairly drastic measures to shut back down, to suppress the virus and get it under control. Now, Germany is actually quite a federalized system. There is a lot of regional autonomy in their government. But this was a national effort led by a national leader who spoke to her nation like a grown-up. Just today, Chancellor Angela Merkel was explaining why the country's traditional Christmas markets couldn't stay open, saying that the current death rate in Germany is just too high.
Und so hart das ist, und ich weiß, wie viel Liebe dahinter steckt, wenn Glühweinstände aufgebaut werden, wenn Waffelbäckereien aufgebaut werden, es verträgt sich nicht mit der Vereinbarung, dass wir zum Beispiel Essen und Verzehr nur zum Mitnehmen nach Hause wirklich vereinbart haben. Es tut mir leid, aber es tut mir wirklich im Herzen leid. Aber wenn wir dafür den Preis zahlen, dass wir Todeszahlen am Tag 590 Menschen haben, dann ist das nicht akzeptabel aus meiner Sicht. Und deshalb müssen wir da rein.
You hear what she said? She said, I am really sorry from the bottom of my heart. But if the price we pay is 590 deaths a day, then that is unacceptable in my view, and they applauded. 590 deaths a day, which is what Merkel will not abide in Germany, is the equivalent, population-wise, to 2,300 people a day here. less than the number of people dying here every day. Now, Donald Trump has never come out surrounded by members of his party and given a passionate public speech in which he says, from the bottom of my heart to Americans, 2,300 Americans dying a day is a completely fine price to pay. It's fine if you all die at that number and get applause from the people that support him. But just because he hasn't given that speech doesn't mean that isn't the policy. That is the policy. The policy is, you guys all figure it out. Everyone is left on their own with no White House leadership on anything. Not public health policy and not a relief deal to offset the worst economic effects of the pandemic. And it is a mess.